My wife was having panic attacks every time she saw a silver Lexus. My 7-year-old daughter stopped playing in the front yard because our HOA president had screamed at her for drawing with sidewalk chalk on our own driveway. And I, a mechanical engineer who spent 6 years designing theme park rides, was standing in my garage at 2 a.m., 200 feet of aircraft cable in my hands, building a trap to hang that woman from an oak tree. This is the story of how I almost destroyed my life trying to get justice, and how my wife saved me by doing something I never would have thought of. Before we get into it, drop your city in the comments, because I'm starting to think every neighborhood has a Karen, and I need to know if yours is worse than mine. We moved into Meadowbrook Estates in April. Nice suburban development, good schools, close to work. My wife Sarah loved the kitchen. Our daughter Emma made 3 friends in 2 weeks. For exactly 14 days, life was perfect. Then I met Karen Westfield. Saturday morning, I'm in my driveway washing my truck, soap suds on my hands, totally minding my own business, when a silver Lexus pulls up and this woman steps out carrying an iPad. She's wearing khakis, a polo shirt with the HOA logo embroidered on it, and sunglasses that cost more than my car payment. "Welcome to the neighborhood," she says. "I'm Karen Westfield, HOA president. I wanted to personally deliver your welcome packet and go over a few violations I noticed." Violations? I'd been there 2 weeks. "Your truck is parked facing the wrong direction in your driveway." I looked at my truck, looked at her, looked back at my truck. Section 7.3.2. All vehicles must face the garage. It creates an unsightly appearance. Before I could respond, she kept going. My garbage cans were visible from the street. My lawn had been mowed in a diagonal pattern, and I had 72 hours to correct all of it, or I'd receive a $50 fine per violation. Per day. She handed me a packet that was basically a novel of nonsense, got back in her Lexus, and drove away. Stood there with soap suds dripping off my hands, staring at my perfectly normal truck, wondering what I had just walked into. Karen drove past my house twice a day, sometimes 3 times, looking for violations like a cop trying to meet quota, my garden hose improperly stored, my daughter's pink bicycle in the driveway, visual clutter, the wreath my wife hung on our door, unapproved seasonal decoration, my car sitting in the driveway while I was actively detailing it, vehicles undergoing maintenance must be in enclosed garages, every single violation, $50 per day. When I tried to dispute them at the monthly HOA meeting, Karen showed up with a PowerPoint presentation, photos of my house from multiple angles, like I was a crime scene. The rest of the board just nodded along like bobbleheads. My neighbor Tom pulled me aside after the meeting. "Dude, just comply." I fought her for 6 months. She made my life so miserable I almost sold my house. I didn't comply. I'm stubborn, maybe too stubborn. Instead, I started documenting everything. Saved every email, photographed every notice, logged the time she drove past my house. 14 times in 1 week, by the way. I filed a formal complaint with the board about harassment. You know what happened? Karen called an emergency meeting, accused me of harassment, and slapped me with a $1,000 fine for conduct unbecoming a community member. In 3 months, we'd paid over $2,000 in fines. Karen had put a lien on our property, which meant we couldn't even sell without paying her off first, and the amount kept growing. Hired a lawyer, $300 for the consultation. And his advice? HOA bylaws are legally binding contracts. You can fight it, but it'll cost tens of thousands and take years. Most people just comply or move. Move. We'd been there 4 months. That night, Sarah whispered to me in bed, "Maybe we should just do what she wants. I can't take this anymore." And then she said something that broke me. She said Emma had asked that day if we were bad people. Because the HOA lady kept saying we were breaking rules, my 7-year-old thought we were bad people. Something snapped in me that night, not in a violent way, in a clarity way. I realized Karen wasn't going to stop. Compliance wouldn't end this, because people like her don't want compliance. They want submission, and the moment you submit, they find new ways to push. So I started digging. I wasn't alone. Karen had targeted at least 8 other families in our 42-house development. The Johnson family got fined because their daughter's birthday party had too many cars out front. The Martinez family was cited for excessive noise because their newborn cried at 6 a.m. Old Mr. Peterson got fined for a bird feeder that attracted nuisance wildlife. Sparrows. We're talking about sparrows. Everyone had stories. Everyone had paid thousands, and everyone was terrified. But something felt off to me beyond just the cruelty of it, the intensity, the obsession, the way she targeted specific people. So I started pulling public records. What I found made my blood run cold. Karen had been HOA president for 7 years, far longer than the supposed rotating leadership policy allowed. In that time, the HOA's annual budget had exploded from $40,000 to nearly $200,000, mostly from fines and special assessments, but the pool was still falling apart. The playground equipment was rusted. Where was the money going? I dug deeper. 12 families had been foreclosed on by the HOA for unpaid fines over 7 years. And every single one of those properties had been purchased by the same LLC Westfield Property Holdings, Karen's LLC. Her and her husband, a real estate attorney who had personally drafted the HOA bylaws, were systematically targeting homeowners with bogus violations, crushing them under fines they couldn't pay, foreclosing, then buying those homes through their LLC for 30 to 40 cents on the dollar. Then I ran into Tom at the hardware store. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. Karen was forcing his family out. $15,000 in back fines. Foreclosure in 30 days. That's when it stopped being about revenge. This was a criminal operation, and I needed to expose it in a way that couldn't be buried. I went back to my garage that night and opened my old design notebooks. 6 years designing theme park rides. I understand physics, mechanical advantage, counterweight systems, failure points. I know exactly how to make things go up, down, and spin in ways that defy gravity and common sense. And I built a trap, a counterweight system rigged to a trigger in the sidewalk along the Greenway path Karen walked every Tuesday and Thursday at exactly 6 a.m. Alone, no cameras. When she stepped on the trigger, she'd be hoisted up into the oak tree, hanging upside down like a piñata. No permanent harm, maximum psychological impact, completely dismantleable in minutes, leaving zero evidence. I know, but I want you to understand where my head was. $2,000 in fines, a lien on our home, my wife having panic attacks, my daughter afraid to play outside, and a lawyer telling me the system was designed to protect Karen. I wasn't thinking clearly. I was thinking like someone who'd been backed into a corner for months. I modified the design to include weatherproof cameras and a microphone. This wasn't just revenge anymore, it was documentation. I'd catch Karen hanging there and get her to confess everything on record. 3 weeks, working every night after the family went to sleep. I tested it a dozen times with sandbags. It was perfect. Tuesday morning, 5:30 a.m. I positioned myself in the woods 50 yards away, heart slamming in my chest. Or 2. Karen came down the path in her power walking outfit, phone out, photographing people's yards. 10 feet from the trigger, 5 feet, 2 feet. She stepped right over it. Nothing happened. I waited until she was out of sight, then ran to check what went wrong. Someone had cut the trigger cable. Cleanly. The cameras were gone. Everything had been removed. And there was a note, zip-tied to the tree trunk. I know what you were planning. I have video of you installing this trap. Meet me at the community center tonight at 8 p.m. alone, or this goes to the police. Signed, KW. Then I got the HOA email. Mandatory community meeting tonight, 8 p.m. All homeowners required. She wasn't going to confront me in private. She was going to destroy me in front of the entire neighborhood. I came home to find Sarah waiting in the kitchen, arms crossed, holding my design notebook. Karen had demanded an emergency garage inspection for hazardous materials while I was at work, and Sarah, under threat of a $500 fine, had let her in. So I told Sarah everything, the trap, the research, all of it. Her face went through about 15 emotions. Then it landed on one I didn't expect. Anger, not at me. "She's been stealing people's homes," Sarah said, her voice getting louder. "We've been paying her thousands of dollars to run a criminal operation. Go to that meeting, record everything. If she tries to destroy you, we destroy her right back." The community center was packed, standing room only. And when I walked in, the room went quiet in that way that means everyone already knows something. At exactly 8 p.m., Karen walked to the front like she was presenting to a board of directors. She clicked her remote. The projector lit up. It was me. Night vision footage. Installing the trap in the woods. The room erupted. "This is your neighbor, Michael Harrison," Karen said calmly over the noise. "What you're watching is him installing a booby trap designed to physically assault me. He spent weeks planning this. I could have been killed. Murder. She used the word murder. Every eye in the room turned to me. I stepped forward on shaking legs, and I said the only thing I could think of. "Show them the rest." Karen's smile flickered. "The rest," I said louder, pulling up documents on my phone, "is the part where you and your husband have been running a real estate fraud for 7 years. 12 families foreclosed. Every single one of those properties purchased by Westfield Property Holdings, your LLC, bought for pennies on the dollar. It's all public record. Everyone in this room can verify it tonight." Silence. That heavy, airless silence where a room holds its breath. Then Tom's voice from the back. "She's doing it to us right now. 15,000 in fines. We have 30 days before foreclosure." More voices, more families. The room started to unravel, but Karen recovered fast. "Even if my business dealings were questionable, which they're not, that doesn't justify attempted murder. I'm calling the police." She was right that I had no defense for what I'd built. And she knew it. She started dialing. That's when the community center doors banged open. A man in his 50s walked in wearing a suit, carrying a briefcase. He walked straight to the front of the room. "Mrs. Westfield, I'm Special Agent Morrison, FBI. Put the phone down and step away from the podium." The room went completely silent. "We've been investigating a real estate fraud operation in this county for 18 months. Your HOA became very interesting to us about 3 weeks ago, when we received an anonymous tip with detailed financial records and property transfer documents." 3 more agents walked in. Karen was led out in handcuffs, screaming about lawsuits and powerful friends, while the neighborhood watched in stunned silence. She looked at me. "Michael, you were building a medieval torture device in our garage because you felt that powerless. So I did the only thing I could think of that wouldn't get you arrested. I let the professionals handle it." She was right. I would have stopped her. I would have insisted on my insane plan instead of her sane one. "Thank you," I said, "for being smarter than me. Someone has to be." The next morning, Karen's face was on every local news channel. FBI announces charges: wire fraud, mail fraud, racketeering, money laundering, conspiracy, $2.3 million in stolen assets. All illegal foreclosures to be reversed. And then Karen's daughter showed up on my porch. She was in her early 20s, hands shaking, tears on her face. She told me Karen hadn't always been like this. 20 years ago, a bad investment had wiped her out. Bankruptcy, and something in her broke. She became obsessed with control, with making sure she could never be powerless again. "I've been collecting evidence for 2 years, the daughter said. Recordings, financial records, communications between my parents bragging about the foreclosures. I was waiting for someone to finally stop them. When I saw you stand up to her at that meeting, even though it meant destroying yourself, I knew it was time." She handed me a USB drive. Then she left. Trauma doesn't excuse what Karen did. But sitting there holding that drive, I understood something I hadn't before. The scariest people aren't the ones who enjoy cruelty. They're the ones who've convinced themselves it's self-defense, Agent Morrison called that afternoon. They'd arrested Karen's husband that morning, caught him trying to liquidate their assets and flee to a non-extradition country. My confrontation at the meeting had spooked him into making fast, stupid moves. As for me, the DA reviewed the case. Took 3 weeks. Given that I'd dismantled the trap myself, never activated it, and was a central witness in a multi-million-dollar fraud case, they declined to file charges. I got lucky. Incredibly, stupidly lucky. I still have the design notebook. I almost threw it away, but I kept it. Not as a trophy, as a warning. It's a reminder of what happens when you feel completely powerless. You make dangerous decisions, and you tell yourself they're justified. And sometimes, the only thing standing between you and a felony is a smart spouse and an FBI investigation that was already in motion. The real lesson isn't fight back, it's fight smart. Sarah fought smart. She didn't build a trap. She built a case. Karen wanted us to feel like we had 2 options, submit or suffer. What she didn't count on was a third option, someone quietly, patiently gathering evidence and handing it to the people with actual power to use it. If you're dealing with an HOA president abusing their position, document everything. Request financial records in writing, certified mail. Connect with other affected neighbors. Look up your state's HOA laws. Most states give homeowners significant rights that boards routinely ignore. And if you find evidence of actual fraud, your state attorney general's office and local FBI field office both have tips lines. The system isn't always rigged. Sometimes it's just slow, and it works a lot better than aircraft cable and a pulley system at 2 a.m. Tom's family kept their house. The Martinez family, Mr. Peterson, 12 foreclosed families are in the process of getting their homes back. Emma plays in the front yard again. That's what winning actually looks like. If this story hit close to home, share it with someone who's dealing with their own Karen. And drop your city in the comments. Let's find out just how widespread this really is.